Hello, and welcome to Added Beauty. I'm Dana, and let's talk about it. Today, let's talk about the fact that it's Ash Wednesday. So, February 18th. Haven't talked to you for a few days. I think the last day I talked with you guys was Valentine's Day. Yeah. And I was still kind of shaking off being a little sick, but here we go. We're good. We're back at it. I'm back at work and all the things. And so it's Ash Wednesday, which is the first day of Lent. And I don't know about you, but for me, growing up, I grew up in a Lutheran church, by the way. Growing up, we felt like we needed to figure out what we're going to give away, or get rid of, or stop doing, or stop saying, stop eating a lot of the times, right? For Lent. And usually Lent lasts, roughly 40 days, plus or minus, until Maundy, Thursday. And then, like, say if you're fasting or you gave up whatever it is, then maybe by that time you can get it together and go back to eating what you were eating, or you hold off all the way up till Easter Sunday, depends. So, around this time, my family has Louisiana roots, and so usually, Mardi Gras happens, right? And if you were being traditional with that Mardi Gras, you can act a fool, and there might be some things you need to repent of after Fat Tuesday, right? Fat Tuesday is like your last stand before you gotta go calm down. Just calm down. And so then Ash Wednesday is when you get those ashes on your forehead. And I had some, I don't know if you could still see it, but I had some, sometimes frequently made in the sign of a cross on your forehead. And it's a time for you to kind of go into prayer and meditation on the word, and to repent, right? And in particular, if you were doing all of that New Orleans traditional thing, you're also repenting of whatever you were doing throughout Mardi Gras and before. And maybe it involves starting a fast. And then you think about what else you're giving up. So over the years, I've done stuff like, okay, I gave up alcohol. It wasn't hard for me because I'm not a heavy drinker at all. So I didn't find that to be much of a challenge. And it's supposed to be something you feel, right? Because if you're talking about what Jesus did for us over 40 days and that, and then if we're saying we're trying to do something sacrificial over the 40 days, then we're supposed to feel it, right? So for me, the alcohol wasn't that big of a deal. I did meat, and I meant no meat. I didn't do the fish on Friday and all of that. I just did zero meat at all for the 40 days. A couple of things happened when I did that. I actually felt better. I actually lost some weight. And I kind of got back into eating meat slower, I want to say, after that. Like, I didn't go back and have a steak or a burger right away. And then I feel like I also, and this has been years ago now, but probably I eat a little less meat in general. Like, I don't have to have meat every day, or every meal or whatnot. And I just try to be, I think, a little more conscious of my meat portions. So maybe that had something to do, now that I'm thinking about it, to back when I first did that 40 days of abstaining from meat. And so let's see what else. Lent is supposed to involve repentance. We talked about that. And generosity, or almsgiving. And almsgiving is supposed to be like some sort of sacrificial thing you're giving, either your money, or some items, goods that you may have, something that you're giving to the needy. I remember, it's like a childhood memory, growing up in my Lutheran church. We did a lot of things because it's only like one tick away from Catholic. I think growing up Lutheran, the only thing that's missing from being Catholic is you don't pray to the saints, and you don't do confession. But other than that, Martin Luther's version of it, it's very similar. And by the way, if you go back and look at old, extra old pictures of Martin Luther, he's a brother, just saying. But anyway, I digress. But so we used to collect alms when I was a kid, and they give you this little paper box. It's probably the size of like a small rectangular box, like the size of a throwaway camera, let's say. It had a little drop-in slot, and you'd collect like your pennies and nickels and dimes and fill up the box of alms as your, donation as a child, that, you have made the effort to collect this money, whether you found it on the ground or you asked your mom and dad for your loose change, whether you worked for it, for part of your allowance or however you did it, that you ask for donations, even alms for the poor, right? And you get the little change and you put it in a little box, and then at some point you bring the box to the church and it's donated in the alms, right? I guess as an adult, it could be that it could be part of your tithe, it could be any of the things, but it could also be that you're giving grace to someone, that you're giving kindness, that you're giving just compassion to someone, generosity. So Lent has me thinking, what am I doing, or what am I giving? How am I going to participate, celebrate, all that? I've been wanting to do a fast. I did not get myself together in time to start my fast on day one on Ash Wednesday. I might do something like a Daniel fast. We'll see. And, I do want to do it for spiritual purposes and to, listen and discern and for clarity on some things for sure. And I also want to do it for my health. I want to do a physical reset. And so I have to think about what makes the most sense of how I can fast. And it's supposed to feel like a sacrifice, right? So it's not supposed to be easy, but I also have to think practically about being able to sustain through work, through my other obligations and things like that. So I'll get it together and I'll let you guys know later on how I'm going to do the fast. If it's going to be a Daniel fast, if it's going to be, really tight intermittent fasting, or what's the length of time that I'm going to do it. I want to do a little bit more research on, what's safe for me. And I would recommend that for anybody before you do anything different or drastic with your diet, your exercise, your medication, fasting, any of those things. You don't always have to talk to your doctor, although that's a good place to start. But at least do your research, right? So that you are not going to get yourself into a situation you don't know how to handle. But so for me, I want to just do a little bit more research, figure it out, and then I'm going to go for it, and I'll keep you posted. Aside from that, I don't know, other times I've said I'm trying to work on things like, maybe I'm going to cuss a little less, because, I'm a Christian woman, but I do cuss a little bit. Sorry. And, somebody said profanity is a sign of intelligence. So I guess I'm a little bit intelligent. But honestly, you can also, communicate without it. And if I'm being, transparent, I don't really think it's very ladylike. I am such a lady though. But every once in a while, Mama says a word or two. But so anyway, that's always on the agenda to do less of. I think I'm gonna try to eat less processed food in general, and I already try very hard with that, but every once in a while, bacon though. Bacon. Cheese. Mm-hmm. And, I think I could still eat cheese, but not ones that are made in the US because of different colors and dyes and processes here that are not so good. And I think one of the food things that I want to do for myself just in general is, sadly but true, buy the majority of my food staples from manufacturers that are not American, because our regulatory stuff is shot. FDA things and whatever else, it's not a thing anymore in this current administration. And the FDA already was not as stringent as other countries on, dyes, preservatives, chemical sprays, all the things. And now there's even less oversight. So I think for myself and for, whatever I would buy and cook for my family, I really would want to, it's probably going to be imported. It's going to cost me a little more. But then again, it'll cost me less in medication and health treatments and things like that too. So eating a little more natural, continuing to work on portion control, and maybe a little less meat. And so I really believe in moderation, because I think you can have some of a lot of things and still enjoy your life. I enjoy food. I enjoy cooking. I'm a great cook. And I don't want to stop experimenting and trying different things. But, maybe I don't eat a whole plate of whatever it is. I have, enough to sample the flavor or have the experience. And if it's not something that's particularly healthy, then we stop there. I think I'm working on giving myself and others more compassion. I can tell you this has been already a rough week. Professionally, at work, I'm having darts thrown at me. And, and a couple of times it's from surprising places, maybe not so much surprising as disappointing, but, that feeling that you feel when it feels like people are coming for you, and how stressful that is, especially if you are the main or sole support of your family. And you have to be concerned about, how you make that happen. And I know, some of you are aware, but Black women have been on the agenda in this last year to find us unemployed. And, I'm not a person who likes to live in fear. And I know I haven't done anything that warrants that. But at the same time, when you feel like people are trying to put you in situations or paint you in a way, it's hurtful. And not good for your stress levels, not good for your cortisol levels, all of those things. So again, I am working on ways to manage stress and manage myself, right? Like, you don't want to let people take you there. You don't want to give anybody any fuel or ammunition for whatever fire they're trying to start. So I'm working through all of that. Trying to get some rest still, right? Because part of the AddedBeauty brand and motto is that rest and relaxation are medicine. And we need some radical relaxation around here, because it's hard to hold up, a smiling face, to show up to what amounts to feeling like you're at war sometimes on a consistent basis, and keep your best foot forward, right? And, working through micro and macro aggressions from people, working through just the climate in general, and keeping your grace, keeping your composure, keeping your dignity, keeping your integrity. And, we do all of those things, but it takes energy, right? And it can drain you. And you have to be mindful of that. You know, I have my big fat cup of herb tea every day. I have a green juice almost every day. I definitely start my day in prayer. I start off with, gratitude that I was, given the chance to wake up. For the most part, I remind myself this is the day the Lord has made, and I'm going to rejoice and be glad in it. And I have a couple of things, including that scripture, on my whiteboard in my office, and some other inspirational words. And it's funny because I wasn't one of those people that, I didn't like if you looked at people's household decor and or like on the Home and Garden channel or whatever, and you see they've got like their live, love, laugh signs over the wall, over the bed, or over, whatever. You're like, oh, that's so cheesy. And there's some of the signs and stuff I still am not, I can live without it. I can remember some of these things without having to put, kitchen, if you be a sweetie, wipe the seedy in the bathroom, all of that kind of stuff. But like, I am finding that having some inspiration around listening to inspirational words, reading inspirational words, surrounding myself with friends and family who are inspirational, today, or maybe it was yesterday, starting to run together. One of the EVS workers in the hospital that doesn't even normally work in our department. So EVS would be like housekeeping or the folks that clean and keep us going that way. And she was talking to other workers in the department. And then, you just like meet up, you say hello, you're commiserating, how you doing, how's it been, da-da-da, you see people, And, she didn't even, her English wasn't the best, but she sensed somebody was going through or feeling a way about something, and she took time to stop and minister to them, basically. Even though she was struggling a little bit to communicate, they understood what she was saying. And basically what she said was, God sees, God hears, God's around, he's here. He hasn't, basically she was saying he's around, he hasn't forsaken you, he's right there. And, in her own way of saying it. But I had to, peep around the corner out of my office. I was like, who is that? I said, and, we introduced ourselves and smiled and laughed and stuff. And I said, I just, I see you pouring into these people. Thank you, and I just wanted to see whose face it was. And she had a pretty face, but it was the light that she was giving too, So it was nice. It's good to see people be genuinely kind when there's no gain in it for them, right? She was going about her work, and she took a 1 or 2 minute pause to be human with people and to offer someone some support. And I think we got to do more of that, first of all. I think that's a good Lenten goal, right? If we're going to go back to what are we giving up or what are we adding in, or a lot of people now say, I'm not just specifically giving something up, but maybe it's clearing the decks in one way or the other. Like, is it cleaning your house, or decluttering your office, decluttering your closet, giving away some of those clothes you've been waiting to go through and give away once you declutter your closet, then go donate the stuff, right? Just a lot of ways that don't necessarily have to cost you a lot of money. Although the idea of sacrifice for Lent is that you should feel the sacrifice. But maybe a lot of people now, I hear talking about it in terms of like, how could you be using the time to refocus, to optimize your, whatever it is, your life, right? Recently, maybe just yesterday, actually, what was the first day of the Lunar New Year? I want to say it was the 16th or the 17th. My best friend since the 7th grade is Chinese. Shout out to Connie. Hey, girl. And we went to Audubon Junior High School, which is in Leimert Park, which is, you know, traditionally black neighborhood. And there she was, and we've been homeschooled since then. And I am the godmother to her children, and you know, my children love her too. And every Lunar New Year, I usually try to make a point to remember to, you know, shout out to her and the family and wish them Gong Hei Fat Choi, and you know, health and prosperity and all of the things. And she does the same. And so we've had that exchange. But then now Lent could also be looked at not as a new year situation, but another new beginning situation, like how at New Year's you make resolutions. And, you know, if you're making resolves to give away something or change something or do something different or add something or take something away, it's, you know, a renewal moment. Interestingly enough, this year, Lent also starts the same day of Ramadan. And Ramadan's got some similar features and aspects. Involves, you know, praying and some fasting, right? They're very serious about their fasting, I think from sun up till dawn or some such. I don't want to misquote it, but it's definitely an intermittent fast basically every day. And other food restrictions and, you know, specific times of prayer and all of those things. And so this year, the overlap is going to be, you know, I would say probably very powerful, that people of different faiths are kind of all on that similar accord of trying to get it right with God. Can't hurt in these times, right? So, what are you giving up for Lent, or what are you adding, or what are you changing? I know for me, after thinking about it, like I said, I'm going to keep working on nutrition. I need to work on continuing to add back in more consistent exercise, and not use the excuse of being tired or long days at work or whatever, but like plan my life, plan my schedule to be able to do more consistent exercise. And I am going to challenge myself on camera that I am going to make a video every single day during Lent, because I had committed to myself that I would do at least 100 and see where I am at that point. And, you know, I gave myself some time and some grace from being sick, or the last couple of days here in this area, we've had really, really bad torrential rain, thunder, excessive wind. And like last night, you wouldn't have been able to hear me over the sound that was happening outside. It was just tremendous. It knocked over so many things and whatnot. But, you know, natural disasters aside, we had, it was bad, like the National Weather Service telling you in Southern California to stay off the streets, and, you know, people had power outages, all the things, right? So, like I said, natural disasters aside, I'm going to commit to myself to do 40 in a row and get back on track, just as a commitment to myself. And I'm going to commit to myself to continue to work on saving my life in general, just not allowing myself to stay in situations that are unhealthy or toxic, whatever that looks like. Honoring myself enough, honoring my temple enough, honoring God enough that I'm not going to give away that time in my life that I can't get back for situations and or people that don't honor who I am, don't respect me, or treat me with, you know, human kindness or generosity. Because I try really hard to give that to others every day. And try to model that for the people that I work with and work for and mentor and all of that. So I think those are some of the places where I'm gonna start. Where are you gonna start? Let me know. Like, tell me in the comments if you've got something going on. I'm getting hot. I'm sorry. I was trying to hold out, but before we do our last little breath here, okay, whew. You know, the hormones are helping though. I have less hot flashes, but I do feel hot right now. Okay, so let's take our breath. I'm grounding. I'm putting my feet flat. Got my hands flat. I'm gonna take my deep breath. You know, when you breathe in, you're supposed to be letting in the peace, the calm, you know, kind of the steadiness, and letting out the things that need to go away, pushing that out. And so sometimes visualizing when you do that is helpful as well. But I do want to encourage you, whatever you decide to do, whether you believe, don't believe, whether you practice Lent, don't practice Lent, all of the things, find some practices that allow abundance for you. And then you have more abundance that you can give to others, and a little more abundance of joy, right? So we're adding beauty, we're adding rest, because that is medicine, and it's resistance. And it's a little bit radical in these days to actually allow yourself to rest. So hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be here. I'm gonna do my number 2 of 40. I think this is video number 27 or 28, but I'm gonna do, like somebody do the 75 hard, you know, weight loss and this and that. I'm not gonna commit to 75 hard right now. I don't actually have 75, but you know, 4 or 5 maybe. But I will commit to 40 hard of these videos, and I'll see you tomorrow. Add some beauty. Oh, and don't forget, please like and subscribe too, and tell a friend. I'm trying to get past, I don't know how many little number of subscribers I have, but the ones I have, I love y'all. Bye.